Hi guys, welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
Bonjour. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
I was even prepared for that too, and I still laughed.
Bonjour. Welcome to week 4 of Life is Messy, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas Eve. It's so exciting. I love Christmas.
Merry Christmas Eve. I'm sorry. This is like so far before it. It's just.
I know we are recording a few weeks ahead of time, so it's a little weird to say,
But we are all decorated for Christmas, so it
Of
feels
course.
right anyway.
yes.
Yeah, so we're on week 4 and just moving along with Life is Messy and the ups and the downs of the book. And so James, what's your part? What are you going to start with today?
So starting off with, it's actually, well, the chapter or section, if you want to call it. It's the most important conversation, which is found on page 126. And it talks about how the most important conversation is the one you have with yourself each day. It regulates your self-esteem and establishes your very sense of self. And I feel like just going based off of those few sentences, I find that words have power. I mean, if you think about it, God's word is quite literally the thing that we base our lives off of as Christians, as Catholics, as, whatever you are in the Christian faith. It's what we base ourselves off of. That's our identity, is found in what God tells us we are, what God shows us we are, which is his children. And so I find that if you say about yourself, like, I'm going to fail, or like, I'm a loser or something, that's only going to set you up for brokenness. Why set yourself up for brokenness when you can actually say, you're a child of the Most High. Treat yourself like one.
Yeah, I think I've heard so often by so many people, like the person that you speak the worst to is usually yourself. And, you wouldn't talk probably to anybody the way that you talk to your own self in your mind. And I love how he said that that's actually the most important conversation that you can have is with yourself. I think we hear so many lies about ourselves, or we've, or we go on discouragement or failure. Like I guess it's going back to perfectionism in a way. You just want to be the best you can be. So if you don't live up to your own expectations of yourself, we don't really have the nicest things to say. And I think they're sneaky, right? Like you don't really always even know that you're talking that bad to yourself in your own heart and your own mind.
And I think the reason we don't always recognize that that's how we're speaking about ourselves is because we do it so often. It's almost as though that voice has become like second nature. Like it's like, I don't mean to be so annoying, but I say it all the time. I'm like, I know I'm annoying. I know that I'm crazy. Like we just speak these words. Like they say that when you speak something out loud, it makes it so. Like they say that when you speak a word, it does have power, and it has power to change the way you see something. And I think it's noticed easier when it's other people. But when you're speaking about yourself, it's like you said, it's sneaky and it's hidden, and it's like almost diabolical because you put yourself down, and then it's like, where do you go from there? Mm-hmm. Like how do you grow out of that? And I think it's paying attention, trying to have like an awareness of it, and recognizing the difference. Like I could joke around about myself and say certain things about myself that are like, I'll say every now and then I'm crazy, and sometimes I am, I'm not wrong, but I'm not the other version of it. I'm not that thing, and I think sometimes the worst parts are when those thoughts get repeated, the negative thoughts that people hear, like it's like an obsessive negative thing that is just repeated in your mind against yourself. And I think the hardest part of those types of thoughts is your mind continues to speak those even if your heart knows that they're not true. And I think that's something that I feel like, okay, maybe we can pray over that, figure it out. Where did that come from? And just ask for some revelation and possible healing in those moments.
I don't know. I find with boxing especially, if you say you're going to lose, you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Because everything I feel like is a mental game, especially boxing, life, tests, this, that. Everything is a mental game as well as it is a physical. It's mental. So it's almost like when the other person gets in your head, you've already lost. That's a thing I just know from boxing. Like, you, of course, if anyone's seen like boxing or MMA or something like that, trash talking, if it gets in your head and you start going, it sets you wild sometimes. In the ring or the octagon, when you're going wild, you're gonna get beat. There's no two ways about it. You can't, do your best if your mind's clouded. You got to be focused. You got to have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, and you got to have the feet to move sometimes. And I just find that that's just how it's got to be. If you want to win, if you want to do something, you got to put in the effort. You got to put in the motivation, and you got to be willing to, sometimes if you do fail, you fail. But if you don't, then you don't. Like, you don't have to always put yourself down. That's the thing with perfectionism. When you don't achieve perfection in 1 try, 2 tries, 3 tries, you won't ever reach perfection because it's unreachable. It's something unreachable in our lifetime on Earth. And so that's just something we can't grasp. And, perfection is perspective. For some people, going based off of boxing again, it's like there's the perfect boxer who's like, the one who's always fighting on the outside and has like almost like a in and out style. And there's the other one who's like the perfect fighter who's like going inside and, tearing body and throwing uppercuts and stuff. And it's like, there's so many different ways to view perfection that it's unreachable. It's just like, just drop the look for perfection and try to become an all around good person at it. It's just like, and I feel like the best way to do that is with love. Because I feel like if I have a quote from Maximilian Kolbe, and he always said, hate alone destroys, but love creates. So it's almost like if you hate yourself and you can't manage to, be willing to love yourself to get out of that hole, you never will. What you need to do is you need to put down the hate and pick up the love, because with the love, that creates the bridge which can get you out.
I have so many thoughts. It reminds me of something your brother had shared once at the prayer meeting when he was asking his students about, I think it was like an icebreaker activity, and they had to share stuff about themselves. And it was really easy for them. I'm probably paraphrasing the story, but it was really, really easy for them. And I think everybody to say negative things about themselves. I'm really, really good at pointing out my flaws, and I'm really not so great at pointing out things that I'm good at or my strengths. It's like, because we focus a lot on the negative. And what I was thinking about when you were saying like the conversations that we have with ourselves in our minds compared to our hearts is that if I say that bad thing that I'm saying to myself in my own head to you out loud, saying something out loud and saying something inside your head or your heart is like very different. And we don't necessarily have conversations out loud with ourselves. It's not like we spend all day having the conversation in front of the mirror. So it's like saying it out loud is so much worse than saying it in your mind. So I think that's why it becomes so easy. It becomes second nature to just hear those negative things. And it really just could destroy like your own self-esteem. And I think sometimes it's really hard to even admit the things that you say, and like not only even admit it, but like actually know you're saying them. It's fascinating, really.
I feel like a lot of moms have believed the lie that like, oh, I'm not a good mom. Like if you make a mistake, or if you like I think of my sister-in-law when our kids were little, and like one of us would like flip out or like lose our temper or something. I could remember like being on the phone with my sister-in-law and being like, oh, worst mother, or like mother of the year, but saying it in this sarcastic tone of like, basically I suck. And I think that everybody experiences that. And the good part about having said it out loud and not just kept it inside was like, I could say it to her, and then we could like joke around about it, and she would share like what she did. And then it's like, okay, you can kind of let it go. But if you just keep those words in your head, they take root.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they're changing your soil and they're planting roots, and then they're going to grow. And that's not the kind of tree you want to grow. You know, you want the fruit of like the spirit. You want to look at yourself with patience and kindness and gentleness and reverence for who you are as like a human, as opposed to like just being like the best mom of the year or the worst mom of the year. You know, I think everybody has those moments. And I do think of the analogy of boxing. Of course, it always makes me think of the Rocky movies. And I think of the one episode of Rocky 4 when he's going up against Drago, the giant. And like, it was like when Adrian said, you can't win. It was like, you see this, like this, like, it's like a breaking inside of himself of like, all right, you don't even think I could win. And it was like a battle to be able to get yourself in a position where you could win again. So I think it also has to do with like who you're surrounding yourself with. You know, Adrian came around like she always did for Rocky, thank God. And she, you know, lifted him up and supported him. But the reality is that like our words, if those negative words get repeated, it could become like an identity lie.
Of course. And if one person says something negative to you, mm-hmm. they probably don't even remember it. Yeah. Maybe they didn't even really mean it. They just said it to hurt you. And it's like, you know, I'm 36 years old. I can probably remember something mean somebody said to me when I was 6 or 7 mm-hmm. or 8. And they don't remember those words. They forgot them, but I remember them. And so one line spoken to me out loud from somebody else becomes my own conversation mm-hmm. that I have with myself in my head mm-hmm. on repeat over and over and over again. And then you remember those things. And then, like you said, they build up. And then if you start to identify themselves, well, then you're just hating yourself like from the inside out and like destroying yourself.
And the crazy part is your brain will sometimes reinterpret what was initially said and make it worse than it actually was. That's something that I learned when I was doing my whole crazy neuroscience study, like, because it starts to grow and then it like builds and then it gets like embellished into something more than it actually was. And it feels like it almost feels like an assault. Mm-hmm. And another thing about the words, and I hate to go back to Rocky, but when Adrian was speaking those words to Rocky, she was speaking them out of fear. So her words were from fear. Like, I'm scared if something happens to you. So when she's speaking from her fear, it's coming out as an accusation against him. And he just takes that on then as like, okay, I'm a loser, mm-hmm. you know? And it's, you know, she didn't mean it, but she was afraid. And I think sometimes maybe that's something that we should look at too as like humans. Like, is fear driving our language mm-hmm. of ourself? Is it driving our language against others sometimes too for control?
I want to say it's almost like, well, a fight for control. You want to talk about Rocky and stuff like that? Talk about Creed 2.
No, I was thinking.
I mean, think about that. Ivan Drago lost to this guy, I don't know, 50 years ago. I don't know. They look old, so I'm just saying that. No offense to them. no offense to them. But well. I'm just saying that Rocky Ivan had a what's it called? Grudge for Drago.
Holding a grudge.
Drago had a grudge for Rocky, and it held him bound to the point where it was like, when he got kicked out of his country, because I'm pretty sure that happened or something like that.
We're really going deep into Rocky now.
But it's almost like
from I've watched like maybe 1, 2, and 3. Maybe. What are you guys talking about?
but it's like he felt abandoned. Mm-hmm. That's the wound that
abandoned by his dad.
It's the wound that, well, really Drago originally Ivan got abandoned, and he imprinted that wound onto his son. Mm. So it's almost like if you don't get rid of that wound, you're going to spread it to other people sometimes. And that's just a thing that happens. It's like when you're rejected, you tend to reject other people. Wow. And you can't live like that. If you live like that, you're going to live completely alone, and then the whole world's going to turn to, hate. It's almost like, I always say love is like a fire and it spreads, but it's also like hate is like cold. It spreads too.
It's so funny. It's like, I feel like this is like, who would have thought there would be so much genius in the Rocky movies? But that is exactly what happened. There was this abandonment and a rejection, and then it passed to the next generation.
Well, what is it? Hurt people, and healed people, heal people.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's actually interesting because I wasn't
lead right into you.
Yeah, because I felt like originally when we had been planning, our parts were separated, but it really flows right into my part that really stood out to me, which is on page 129, and the section is called "The Way Forward." And he's talking about overwhelm. And he says, we overwhelm ourselves with tomorrow's troubles instead of focusing on today's opportunities. We look at the long journey ahead and overwhelm ourselves. But today's part of that journey is not overwhelming. It is enough. Not too much, not too little. It is manageable. There is enough time today to carry out everything God wants me to. When I am stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed, I usually discover it is because I am not doing God's will, but my own. And I think we put these expectations on ourselves that we have to accomplish like every day. You know, you wake up and you're like, okay, what do I have to accomplish today? And what if we set our minds to do something to complete our to-do list for that day, and by the end of the day you didn't get to it, you know, and it's on your mind all day. And then I can hear the lies, I can hear the negative self-talk, like you're a failure, you're not good enough, you're a bad mom, whatever it is that you're saying if you don't accomplish that. But my favorite part is that sometimes we wake up in the morning and I think we get an overwhelm for the day of what is ahead of us. But what really stood out to me is changing that perspective of it. And I know he talks about that changing perspective also in this section that we're discussing. But he said instead of focusing on the troubles, we can focus on the opportunities. And that's what a great way to look at the day. You know, yeah, we all have to do what we are, you know, expected to do, work, take care of kids, whatever it is. And it's like, yeah, but what are all the amazing opportunities that this day has for me?
I almost want to say it's when you're running, I'm sure there's quite a few people who have ran in their lives and, you know, ran around the block at least. It's almost like if you're looking in front of you, like far in front of you, you're not paying attention to anything, you know, directly in front of you. You're not looking at where you're going. You're going to fall. You're going to trip and fall. That's just how it tends to be. If you continue to look forward and, you know, far into the future, if you're like obviously plan for stuff, that's all right. Just don't overlook everything that's happening today. Live in the present and you can prepare a little bit for the future. You don't have to, you know, it's not this or that. It can be a both and that happens with balance. But it's almost like if you're too focused running, you know, looking directly below you, you're going to fall too. It's like you got to find the perfect distance, and that's how you know, successfully dodge the random slightly tilted up sidewalk that's there for some reason that sometimes you trip over. Know that from experience.
I used to think that incorporating prayer or incorporating God into my day, I used to think that there wasn't enough time. I used to think like, well, how am I going to find the time to do Bible in a year for 20 to 25 minutes a day plus all the other things? Or, you know, Matthew Kelly is maybe not necessarily in this book, but in all of his books, like his main mission is to tell people spend 10 minutes a day in the classroom of silence. And it's like, how am I going to stop? How am I going to find the time? But what I've realized over time is that if you put that first, it's as if everything else just falls into place, you know. And if you have 900 things you need to accomplish, if you spend 5 minutes in prayer, it's like all of a sudden the clarity forms and you see, oh, I have to do this first, and then I'm supposed to do this second. And you know what? This actually doesn't matter. I don't have the energy to do it. I don't have the resources to do it. I'm just going to wait for tomorrow or the next day or the next week, whatever it is. We weren't meant to just be these, you know, human doings, as I think he also has said once. We are human beings.
I want to add on to that. It's with boxing, sometimes I get the feeling like, you know, you get the jitters, you want to fight, you want to get back into the ring and fight in competition. But you also got to understand that has to be in God's timing. It's like I can't, do that while I'm like focusing on everything else. It's like everything's got to be right in his timing. It can't be like if I force it right now, I'm not going to have any joy with it. It's almost like that's what happens when you try to do things outside of his time, and when you try to do it your way, you do get overwhelmed. You get stressed and you start to fall down. And it's almost like if you just have patience, almost, I want to say it's patience and faith. And if you could have that, everything else will fall into place. It's a puzzle. And you can't really do it if you're trying to make your own pieces.
It reminds me a lot of Yvette.
I was just going to say that.
She's like always talking about the puzzle. She's always talking about how like, it's like, okay, I have this opportunity. I have this amazing opportunity. And okay, I have to do this first. I have to make sure I complete this task because this is how I've always done it. And it's like a big thing that usually comes for her is like she sees this giant puzzle and she's managing every single piece that had ever existed on her own. And like the conclusion of that is like, it's just fear. It's like, it's fear that I'm not going to be able to be what I need to be. It's fear that I'm not going to be able to accomplish the goal that I set out to accomplish. I always do it this way. So if I do it this way, I'm not going to be successful. And I think of it even like, so as soon as December started, we made a little challenge for ourselves that we were going to try and do a 30-minute workout every day. And it's like, okay, 30 minutes as opposed to 10 or 15 minutes is a big difference, coupled with like trying to get a walk in. And like myself, I've always been so into exercise, into working out, into making sure that I fulfill my goals. And it was like, Marissa was like, if I could do 3 days a week of 30 minutes and like work out maybe even 10 to 20 minutes the other days, I'll be like happy with myself. And I was like thinking, that was such an easy thought for me. But in the years past, I could remember thinking like, no, you have to get your 30 minutes in. If you don't get your 30 minutes in, you are a failure. Like you're not going to be in shape. You're not going to feel good if you don't have your cardio. And it was like, it's exercise is good for you. It's something that's healthy, but I had it as like took too much of my thought process, and learning to adjust to that as I've gotten older. I mean, I'm older too. I can't do what I've done when I was younger, but it's still just the ability to say, if I don't make my 30 minutes today, I'll be proud if I make 3 days. I'll be proud if I make 2 days of the 30-minute workouts. And I think it's just managing your own self, managing your time, and not getting discouraged by it.
Yeah, I think the key to that is being able to adjust your own expectations of yourself. Mm-hmm. If you set an expectation and you write that in stone and you don't change that, you become a slave to that expectation. And that's where all the negativity comes, and that's where the fears come out, and the control and the discouragement. And I just think maybe the expectation over Thanksgiving week was like, I'm not working out at all. Mm-hmm. I'm going to eat a lot, and you know what I mean? And then the expectation for this week is different, and just having that flexibility to basically live, mm-hmm. To live fluidly. I keep seeing his golden, mm-hmm. It's not always this system, mm-hmm. And some weeks it is, mm-hmm. and some weeks you're really good at the discipline, and some weeks you're not good at it. But because it just becomes that obsession in your own mind, mm-hmm. and it takes hold of you, like you could actually physically feel the difference. And that's what he says here. He says, if I'm stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed, mm-hmm. I discover it's because I am not doing God's will, but my own. Mm-hmm. Like you said, working out is good for you, but not when it's an obsession.
Yeah. And it's about choice too. Like it could work both ways. It's like you could choose to be like, you don't have to do it at all. And that also is not good. So it's like it's like what you spoke of earlier. It's the balance. It's the in between. It's the like, okay, I'm choosing to work out. I might not work out 30 minutes, but I'm going to try for 10, and if I don't get that, I'm going to try and get a walk in. And it's like just continuing to make a choice of discipline. It's discipline, it's choice, but it's balance. And that's where I think everybody gets stuck in that.
It's almost like you give your yes, but you don't like force it. That's the best way I could put it. It's almost like you give your yes for an opportunity, but you don't become a slave to it. Yeah. It's like when you become a friend, it should be a yes both ways. It should be cooperative. There should be joy, and then there should be, you know, the other stuff that comes with friendship. It's not just, now you have to work for me. That's not what a friendship is. And I feel like sometimes that's how it can be with, you know, I don't know, working out or perfect schoolwork. It's like there's always that time when you might fall, and if you find yourself like crying about it, it's almost like it's an obsession. That's not something you should be holding on to, because obsession is what chains you, and anything can become an obsession. And that's the dangerous thing. The best thing you can do is just keep yourself in balance, because it's like when you take your eyes off of Jesus, when you take your eyes off of God and you place it onto something else, now that thing's the obsession. That thing's your God now. That thing's the one that you're focusing on, and that's the thing sitting on your back. Instead of you sitting on its back, it's now sitting on yours. So instead of you sitting on Jesus's back, that thing is sitting on yours.
And it involves like a connection. Like if you're going to commit to something, there has to be like a yes. Like you have to give a yes to commit to something, but the yes shouldn't be controlling you. But the commitment has to be there, because what friendship survives when you never talk? You know what I mean? So it's not like, especially with God, like there needs to be that constant conversation. There needs to be that dialogue, because he's just something else, you know?
I want to say it's like walking a dog. If you let the dog control you, then it's going to do what it wants. But if you can actually control the dog, then now you're good. You're safe. You keep everyone else safe around you as well.
That's a really great example.
Yeah. It's interesting. I feel like now we're talking about choices, which is
my
your
section.
part.
My section is choices.
So interesting.
So we just kind of fell into that.
The spirit really worked.
Yeah,
in its
that's pretty powerful.
Own way today.
Because mine's called One Choice at a Time, and it starts on page 133. And then he's very interesting in this book, because the way that he speaks, sometimes I'm like, wow, that's Matthew Kelly, you know. But he says, one of the most pathetic things we can say as human beings is I had no choice. Our ability to choose is one of the things that makes us uniquely human. As a child, I watched my father, and whenever he had a choice between doing the right thing and doing the wrong thing, he would choose the right thing. I'm sure there were times when he didn't, but I was never a witness to them. Situations and predicaments would arise, but this response was predictable. Whatever the right thing to do was, that's what he would try and do. And I must confess, there were times as a child that I wished my dad were a lesser man, when I wished he wouldn't do the right thing. An example, my brothers and I found a soccer ball one day at the park. Look what we found, we came home saying gleefully. Do you think you found it, or do you think someone lost it, my father said. Somebody lost it, one of my brothers said sheepishly. Come on, Dad, please, can we keep it? Another chimed in. Dad didn't say no. He didn't say we must do this or that. He folded his newspaper like a sage philosopher. And he started asking questions, some more leading than others, letting each question hang in the air for full effect and waiting for each one of us to be answered, no matter how long it took. How would you feel if you lost the soccer ball? How sad do you think the boy is who saved his pocket money for weeks or months to buy it? Who tonight is at home wondering how something so horrible could happen? How will his heart sink when he remembers where he left it and come back to find it gone? If you keep it, how will that change the way the boy thinks about other people and of the whole world? If you decide to take it back, won't you teach him that the world and other people are good? We muttered and mumbled and answered his questions. We knew. He had taught us right from wrong. He taught us how to live. We had known as we'd walked home that our father would say, but better hurry back. You don't want him to get there before you and think you lost it forever, Dad said finally. My brothers and I walked down the street in the park, and as we walked into the park, there was a boy about 9 years old with his dad looking all around the field. It was clear that they were looking for the ball. We ran over and gave it to him, and he was crying, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, his father said. He just got it yesterday for his birthday, and he was heartbroken that he had lost it. I felt the warm glow of goodness inside of me, and once again, I knew that my father had been right. And I really like that story.
I love that story.
Yeah, I think it's such a cool story because it's a choice. It's like a small choice. They found it. It was in the park, you know. But just the fact that like they made that choice it was the dad that really made the choice, and they listened, and they weren't happy. I love that they weren't happy about the choice, but then when they went and returned it and saw like that the boy was so happy, that there was a feeling of goodness that filled them from doing the right thing, which I think that's my favorite part of the story. Like, they were honest. They didn't want to give it back, but they did because their dad made them, and the result was so good.
Yeah.
It's almost like the difference between love and hate. When you love someone, I mean, for me, I tend to find that if you love someone and you help them, that tends to give you a good feeling. It's like that warmth in your chest. It's that, I did something good. It's like, I don't know, you get ecstatic, I almost want to say. And it's like, when you tend to hate, it's almost like you get that, like, it's a burning sensation, but it's not a good one. It's almost like the difference between jumping into lava and jumping into a warm tub of water. I don't know what to call it.
Swimming pool?
Sure. It's the difference between burning yourself and actually enjoying the warmth that you're being given. So it's almost like you got to be careful what you choose, because you might choose something that hurts another person.
And I think, the dad did make them do that, but he really didn't make them at the same time. Like, I think another parent could have come home and be like yelling, "Give that ball back!" It's not, and you're angry at it. But he took the time to teach them a lesson of making the right choice and doing something out of the goodness of your heart. And I know you left out of the ends where he does buy them the soccer ball the next day, and to me that's such like a analogy for God, because I feel like what we do is like sometimes doing the right thing with God is really hard. Not something we ever want to do. I usually use the term kicking and screaming. Just because it looks like I do the right thing doesn't mean it was easy, doesn't mean I wanted to, but I try and I fail sometimes, and sometimes I don't fail, and sometimes my obedience leads me somewhere else. But my point is that usually, most always, if you turn to God and do the right thing, he usually rewards you back in a way that is more. That gift to me, a gift of a soccer ball from my dad for me doing the right thing. Yes, it makes me do the right thing again, but as a child, but in my heart, like, it's such a lesson learned. Like, I can receive in giving. And I think they would have been fine if they didn't get the soccer ball anyway. Yeah. And I think that's how I feel about God. I feel that I'm doing the right thing because it is the right thing, or you're asking me to do this thing. And I'm not doing it expecting something in return. I can hope, I can pray for things, but he provides no matter what in the way that's his way. And that way is always much better than our own boxed way. I hope that made sense.
It totally makes sense. And I love that you did mention that part, because what I found is that the boys did not, when you read the book, you'll see the boys did not expect anything. They just did the right thing, and they had that good feeling inside. And then when the dad did come home, they were like so surprised and like excited. And like you said, it was just a really good lesson. And I think that is something that, like, for us, it's real. Like, that's a real lesson. Like, it's a real, like, opportunity sometimes to do the right thing, but it's not always easy. It's not always what we want to do. And it's not even a matter of sometimes loving or hating a decision. Sometimes it's like, I just don't like to do that. It's just not something that I even want to do. It's just not my thing, Like last week, we were displaced. We were taken from one part, for our prayer meeting, we were taken from one part to another, and it was like last minute. And it was like, at first it felt so uncomfortable, and it felt so like so much of a, like a burden almost. Yeah, it was like, and then it ended up being such a blessing. And I felt like it was like, that's another way of like, just like, when you just do the right thing, even if you don't like it, sometimes the result can be something beautiful, like taking something beautiful from something that is not easy to
And that beautiful thing can just be a good feeling inside.
It doesn't have to be something huge.
I was going to say beauty from the ashes.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
wow. I love it. There is one part I would like to end with, if that's okay.
Yeah.
From your section, because I just thought it was like the perfect, the perfect way. He says, we build our lives one choice at a time. Wherever you are and wherever you feel called to go, whatever you're doing and whatever you feel called to do next, choose something today that moves you in the direction of your dreams. Not all choices are equal. We celebrate free will as if the ability to choose guarantees a good outcome, but it doesn't. Every moment is a chance to turn it all around. Is this your moment? Choices determine the direction of our lives. What direction is your life heading in?
Just based off of that, I would like to say that I want to choose love. That's the best thing for me. If my choices lead me somewhere, I want to choose the choices which lead me to love, and that's the choices that include love.
Amen. I want to choose God. What do you want to choose?
I feel like the best word for me would be like acceptance. If I'm honest, like I love is a beautiful word and it's a beautiful thing, but if I'm honest, I don't always love everything or everyone, right? I mean, I hate to be that person, but that's just me. Like, I would like to say that I do, but I don't. So acceptance, and then hopefully that would grow into love. But for me, I'm usually like, not there yet. That's just my own self. I hate to be that person, but I'm like, love. I'm like, oh, that's so hard, And it's the better way. It is the way. But for me, I'm like, acceptance, and then, hopefully I get there. I try.
Acceptance is like love's child.
Thank you, James.
Oh, James, you're always the better one on the podcast.
It's like, oh my God.
Oh, not.
We're joking.
We're all equals.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, tiny miracle time.
Tiny miracle time.
Yeah.
Oh, get this. You're saying
Okay.
I'm the best one, but guess what? So I'm leaving for the bus, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 33. I actually woke up early today. How is this happening to me? I run outside, and I'm going down. And the bus driver just stops for me instead. He like stops for me, picks me up, and then goes to my stop and picks up the other people.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
So
That's
I
a
love that.
giant miracle.
thank you, bus driver, even though I don't know if he'd ever watch this, but thanks to him.
You never know. My tiny miracle is Christmas themed things. I can't get enough of them. I don't know what it is about. Like, I can't get enough Christmas tissues and Christmas soap. I'm even using Christmas body wash, which who would have ever thought I would do that? I don't know. The joy of Christmas this season, this year, is just amazing, and I'm just so thankful for it.
I'm there with Marissa with the theme of Christmas. I'm like, I'm a little obsessed with lights. Like, I'm just like, the more lights you have, the more joy I feel. And like, she had decorated the room and I didn't realize. And when we came in, it was like, there was a lit up tree last time I was here, but now there's like a snowman that's like lit up. And then behind us, there's lights. And I'm just like, even looking in her classroom, there's like snowflake lights that she had put up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, so for me, I feel like it's the Christmas lights. I just love them so much. That's my tiny miracle.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And what better tiny miracles than on the day of Christmas Eve that you guys will be listening to this.
And I just want to shout out, I'm sorry.
No.
I forgot. I want to shout out Miss Jackie. She's just somebody that I work with who is just this amazing person who just cares so much and just really puts all of her effort in all of the time. And I feel like she listens to the podcast a lot also. So I just want to shout out to her and just say thank you so much for being you. She's awesome.
Yeah, we love you, Miss Jackie.
And that's my last thing.
Yeah. So next week, we are going to be doing the sections on page 138, starting with the 4 absolutes and ending on page 167 when change seems too daunting. Ooh. So if you're following along in the book, pages 138 to 167. If you're not, that's okay too, because you fit right in no matter what.
Life is messy.
Life is messy. Merry Christmas, everybody. We hope you have an amazing holiday with your families and friends. And thank you so much for being a part of the journey with us this year.
Yes. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Sorry.
Feliz Navidad. If
I
Yvette was
know.
here.
I know. All right. So we'll see you next week, guys.
See you next week.
Be found, porcupines.
That
was great.
Great.
I don't know why
That
I
one
said
cut long.
40.
Oof, I knew it was long.
I don't know why I said it in a southern accent, but I
That's
did.
all right.
Porcupines.
We have to take pictures.